Hi there, Internet. I'm John Oliver. We are off this week, but I wanted to quickly check back in to talk to you about a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is rocks. That's right, rocks. So congratulations to whoever just completed their Last Week Tonight topic bingo card. But I'm not going to be talking to you about just any rocks. I'm going to be talking about specific rocks, although not straight away, because for reasons that will become clear, I'm going to need to lay some significant groundwork. We really have to ramp up to this one. So before I talk to you about specific rocks, I'm first going to talk to you about furries. And before I talk to you about furries, I need to talk to you about the Georgia Republican gubernatorial primary. Remember, the rest of my staff is on vacation right now. My family went to an island, I think, and I'm here. So we are all where we're supposed to be. Now, if you know anything about the Georgia primary, it's probably the frontrunners involved, incumbent Brian Kemp and challenger David Perdue. But this piece isn't about them. To be honest, I don't even have time to point out which is which. They're both old white Republican men who look a lot like that meme of two Spider-Men pointing at each other. Instead, I want to talk about a third candidate in the election, Kandiss Taylor. She was also running in the Republican primary, although polling far behind Kemp and Perdue at around just 4%. So she had a real uphill battle on her hands, which may be why she came out swinging in this debate appearance.
Donald Trump won. He won. We have a fraudulent pedophile in the White House. I'm going to put the Constitution first, and I'm going to put Jesus first every single time. And we're going to fix our schools. We're going to get rid of this anti-white racism. And we're going to get rid of kindergarten teachers, men with beards and lipstick and high heels teaching our children. We're going to get back to being moral in Georgia.
Now, obviously, there is a lot of offensive shit on display there, from the baseless accusations of voter fraud to naked racial grievances to anti-trans panic too, and this is the big one, how she spells Kandiss, because that is simply incorrect. That looks like how a cartoon snake would pronounce the word candies. But was that fiery debate performance enough to win her the primary? Probably not, since it was this past Tuesday and she lost it. At least I'm assuming that she lost it. We take these ahead of time, so there is a small possibility that she won. But honestly, if she did, we'll have deleted this video anyway and pretended it never happened. So if you're watching this right now, that means Kandiss Taylor definitely lost. And one of these two guys who share many of her terrible views, but in a more media-savvy package, they won instead. And if you're thinking, John, why on earth, John, are you devoting one of your precious few web exclusives, which many consider to be a far superior product, to the dreck you put on television? Why are you wasting this yammering on about a barely seen also-ran in a primary that just ended? I would respond, hey, you don't have to be here. Why are you watching this? To which you might respond, because you promised me rocks, goddammit! Where are my rocks? And we will get there, I promise. But first, a little more about Kandiss Taylor. This was her campaign bus. And look, you can put whatever you want on a bus, like Jungkook from BTS, or this big snake, or this, although ideally, never that. But my point is, Kandiss's bus made some weird choices. I don't know whether it's the I'm the one you've been waiting for, with one emphasised for no clear reason, or the mixture of cursive and stencil fonts usually reserved for Etsy signs like "Together is my favourite place to be," or "Home is where the wine is waiting." Or the fact that she listed her 3 campaign priorities as Jesus, guns, babies. It is the sort of brain-dead, knee-jerk culture war buzzword platform that you would expect to appeal solely to Mike Lindell. And guess what? You'd be absolutely right, because she once tweeted, "Mike Lindell understands our movement for Jesus, guns and babies." But for whatever reason, the handshake of a deranged pillow baron didn't do much for her numbers, and Kandiss seemingly spent the final months of her campaign how any Republican who desperately wants attention would, and that is by frantically seeking out culture war issues that would give her campaign traction. And people do like to see a fighter, don't they? Which is presumably why she posted this campaign video.
The governor's race in Georgia has 4 establishment politicians. And then there's Kandiss Taylor.
And I'm one of you.
That's the whole clip. We didn't edit that down. That is the complete video that she posted, along with a tweet that said, "That's it, that's the tweet." And yeah, Kandiss, I guess agree to agree on that one, I suppose. Also, not for nothing, that is the least convincing portrayal of a boxer that I have ever seen, and I have seen Ed Sheeran's Shape of You video. He looks like Ron Weasley failing a Zumba class. Now, for a while, it seemed like Kandiss's chosen enemy would be the manufactured panic. The public schools have been formally accommodating the needs of furries. Which brings me, as promised, to furries. If you are not aware, earlier this year, a bunch of Conservatives fell for some very weird online rumours about what was happening in schools. And I will let Nebraska State Senator Bruce Bostelman explain.
I'm a little shocked, I guess is what I would put it. It's called something called furries. If you don't know what furries are, it's where school children dress up as animals, cats or dogs, during the school day. They meow and they bark. And now schools are wanting to put litter boxes in the schools for these children to use. How is this sanitary?
I mean, none of that happened, Bruce. First, and this is the least of the problems here, dogs don't shit in litter boxes. But also, neither do furries. That is not what furries do. What they do is they use regular toilets, wear elaborate fursuits, and many offer art commissions where you can get yourself done up as a sexy river otter at very reasonable prices. They are harmless. But Kandiss Taylor, an adult seeking office, remember, actually ran on this anti-furry issue, issuing 10 proposed executive orders, one of which instructed no furry-related items will be worn in schools. Also tweeting, "The furry days are over when I'm governor," which is just an all-time thing to tweet. Honestly, it's an all-time thing to say. Just try it. Walk into any room and announce, "The furry days are over when I'm governor." Do it right now and see if you don't feel an electric rush of power. Don't explain yourself. Why should you? After all, you're the governor and furry days are over. And the replies to that tweet are exactly the sort of response that you would hope for and expect from the furry community. One person said, "If schools are for academics, not fairy tales, then how come people still teach supply-side economics?" To which I say, roasted. Well, several others simply posted furry cartoon arses. And if you absolutely had to reduce the furry presence online right down to its bones, critiques of conservative economic theory and fuzzy butt shots really are the guiding principles of the whole movement. Anyway, I mentioned Kandiss Taylor's 10 executive orders. She initially only released 9 of them and made it clear that number 10 was going to be a major drop, even spending days hyping it up online, saying evil cannot be negotiated with and must be crushed. EO number 10 is going to shake the nation. Stay tuned. Which, yeah, right, it does sound pretty major, doesn't it? And you know what? When number 10 finally dropped, it turned out Kandiss was right.
The New World Order is here, and they told us it was coming. It's a battle far greater than what we see in the natural. It is a war between good and evil.
Yeah, Kandiss isn't fucking around. She tweeted that alongside, "I am the only candidate willing to stand up to the satanic cabal. The Georgia Guidestones must be demolished." That was the closing argument of her campaign, raising the obvious question, hey, Kandiss Taylor, what the fuck are you talking about? And at this point, it is finally time to talk about rocks. And not just rocks, remember, specific rocks, and specifically the Georgia Guidestones, because it turns out they are a roadside attraction in Elbert County, Georgia. And Taylor is actually not the only one with a sense of animosity towards them. The Guidestones are the centrepiece of a lot of online conspiracy theories, which kind of makes sense. They were erected centuries ago by ancient druids, except they weren't. They were put up in 1980, and the man who commissioned them did so under a pseudonym. There are also a functioning astronomical calendar, and some think they have paranormal properties, like this guy.
You take pictures of it, you get a blue orb. When you put your head down in there like this and look through it, a ball of energy comes through that sucker, man. I try to get up here 3 to 5 times a week.
You know what? I, for one, believe him. Not about the blue orb, that is ridiculous. What I believe him about is the scheduling. I fully believe that some days that man thinks to himself, oh no, I've only been up to see the ball of energy twice this week. I'm going to have to move some stuff around. The stones also feature massive engravings that have been the subject of a lot of investigation, as you can see on this episode of the History Channel's Decoded.
Looks like there's a bunch of different languages.
I just Googled this, and we've got English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian.
To me, it seems like a weird new 10 Commandments.
Is it 10?
10? That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, good catch.
Is it? Is it a good catch? Is that the weirdest thing about the 20-foot Stonehenge outside of Atlanta? The number 10? Also, to television editors everywhere, next time you're sitting in the edit bay watching footage of a middle-aged man slowly count to 10, don't put it to dramatic music. You can just edit it out. People will honestly thank you. In fact, here are 10 reasons why you should do that. But they are right, in that the stones feature weird aspirational instructions, mostly vague catch-all edicts like protect people and nations with fair laws and balance personal rights with social duties and guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. You know, some broad, feel-good precepts mixed in with some light to medium eugenics. But the line that the controversy focuses on reads, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And I will say, at this point, you could see how anyone who believes in, say, a Satanist New World Order cabal might see that as a bit of a red flag. And as long as these stones have been around, which is, again, since 1980, people have been scared shitless by them. Some believed they were a satanic altar, while in 2014, conspiracy theorists cited the Guidestones as proof that the Ebola outbreak would kill off much of humanity. And in 2018, Marjorie Taylor Greene, oh yeah, she's involved here too. I mean, how would she not be? She endorsed the idea that the Guidestones revealed a world genocide plot. And after hearing a bunch of theories that dumb, instinctively, I am tempted to defend the Guidestones and point out that a far more common interpretation is that they are directions for rebuilding civilization after an apocalypse, which would make some sense, given that they were built at the height of the Cold War, and the client, who went by the alias Robert Christian, by the way, had told the builder he wanted it to be capable of withstanding the most catastrophic events. I could also point out the ridiculousness of thinking that some sort of global Illuminati wrote down their plot for killing off 95% of humanity on a giant granite post-it note and left their secret plan somewhere no conservative would ever find it, rural Georgia. I am tempted to say all of that, but here is where this piece gets a little weird. That's right, at this point. Not with the snake bus, not with that thing that you had to look at earlier and are having to look at again now. This right here is the weird part, because while researching this piece, as far as we knew, no one had ever definitively uncovered who was responsible for the Guidestones. None of the reporting that we looked at ever dug that deep. And it was only after we wrote everything that you've seen up to this point right now that we discovered this kind of shitty 2015 documentary from a born-again Christian filmmaker who decided to investigate the Guidestones. In it, the producers trick the one man who knows Robert Christian's real identity and who had promised never to reveal it into allowing them to open this case containing their correspondence on camera. And in doing so, seemingly revealed that the Guidestones were ordered by a man named Dr. Herbert Kirsten. And if that documentary is right, and Kirsten is the man behind the Guidestones, that is pretty troubling, because he was a doctor from Fort Dodge, Iowa, with multiple interests. Conservation, certainly. Population control, absolutely. But he also wrote at least 2 letters in newspapers praising David Duke. Yeah, that's David Duke, the Klan leader and neo-Nazi, arguing, among other things, that Duke voices many beliefs held by reasonable Americans. It is unfortunate that more acceptable public figures are not pushing similar views, which is the sort of thing that makes a line like "Guide reproduction wisely" hit a little bit different now, doesn't it? So unfortunately, this web extra, which was supposed to be a light piece about this silly southern fried Stonehenge, suddenly got much less fun, which is very disappointing. I mean, what other roadside attractions are harbouring dark pasts? How many mini-golf dinosaurs are secretly race zealots? Who rolled up this giant ball of twine? Hitler? It doesn't bear thinking about. And I know that you, like me, may be blindsided by this revelation, although I'm also willing to bet that others saw this coming the very moment I said, "a monument in Georgia." I mean, this is a state that carved Confederate generals into the side of a mountain. It is not like white supremacist stonework is light on the ground there. But in the end, I guess what this really means is that reluctantly, I do have to hand it to Kandiss Taylor in a way, not to her policies, which are terrible, or her platform, which is incoherent, or her campaign ads, which are ridiculous, or her bus, which is very bad, or her position on furries, which is extremely funny, or her ability to spell her own name, which, again, is just objectively wrong. That's not how you spell that. But I will admit that when it comes to the Georgia Guidestones, she may have been partially right, albeit for completely wrong reasons, when she suggested that they were a problem, which is totally heartbreaking, because if there's one thing that should bring our country together, is a good, mysterious roadside attraction. So if you live in Georgia or anywhere and you have a few 100 tons of granite lying about, why not build your own functioning astronomical clock, one that doesn't reference eugenics? Put your own mysterious rules on it, like, oh, I don't know, the furry days are over when I'm governor. That's a good one. I promise you, if you build it, they will come. I know at least one guy who will come 3 to 5 times a week. Thank you so much for watching this. We're back on June 5th. Goodbye.